What is going on? Welcome back to the channel. It's Melodrama Monday. Which means that we're covering yet another video. We're going to cover up Glaive's video here, just released actually today. 5 years later, Genshin Impact still doesn't respect your time. Let's see what this one is. I have a few ideas. There's one thing that I want covered in this video. The rest of it, though, I'm not sure, and these are temporary, right? Don't make fun of me. I know we got cords in 2025. Listen, they're in the mail. All right, let's check this out, though. Let's see what's going on.
It has been 7 months. 7 months since I put out a video talking about the basic fundamental things Genshin Impact needed to fix to keep up. I went over the usual list of complaints: the lack of any real endgame, the resin system feeling like a chore.
You said 7 months, right? I mean, it's got some... It's got some Stygian onslaught now, but real endgame though.
The nightmare of managing artifacts without a proper loadout system. Basically a long list of features that other games, even games from Hoyoverse themselves, had already figured out. And now here we are, deep into version 6.0. And to be fair, they have released a lot of updates. On paper, it looks like they were listening, but this is Genshin Impact. And with Genshin, you always have to read the fine print. So today we're going to do an audit. We're going to look at what they actually changed, what they
all right, let's do a little bit of a guess here. All right, so we're gonna talk about like the artifact system improvements. We're gonna talk about the artifact crafting that we can do now. Not that one, but like the substat main stat crafting one. That's gonna be in there. We need to actually talk about skipping dialogue. Listen, I know there's some like hardcore anti-dialogue skippers that exist in this community for some reason. But everyone wants to play the game their own way at their own different pace. And if they really cared, in my opinion, about dialogue, story, cutscenes, it should be an option for you to go download the files or whatever. There should be some journal or something in one of the towns that you can go look up and rewatch cutscenes. Okay. I think we're not. I think we're
approved, and where they gave us a monkey's paw solution.
Ah, there it is.
If you haven't watched this video yet, it is where you get what you asked for, but it comes with a catch that makes you almost wish you hadn't asked at all. We will break this down into 3 parts. First, we will cover the genuine no strings attached improvements, the things that they actually got right, and then we will get to the so-called fixes that came with a heavy asterisk next to them. And then finally, we will talk about the long list of issues that are still, after all this time, completely ignored. Let's get into it. But before that, let's talk about our sponsor for today's video. Before we get into it, I want to talk...
Guys, it's Hoyoverse's new game. It's that Pokemon auto chess battler. That's what it is, right?
Now let's get back into the video. All right, let's talk about what they got right. And to be fair, the list is longer than I expected.
Those characters
they did
cool.
a good job cleaning a lot of the small annoying things. They finally added proper controller supports for Android. This is one of those things that probably should have been there at launch, 5 years ago. But well, it's here now.
Is this in the video so we can like start small with nitpickies and then just...
So credit where it's due. They also expanded the number of party slots to 15 with all of the new game modes they've added, each wanting different kinds of teams. This wasn't just a nice change, it was a necessary one. It is a simple fix that makes managing your characters a lot less painful. And having more team templates is just great. The tracking for quests and bosses also got a much needed update. You don't have to manually open your map, switch to another region, and then zoom in to find where you're supposed to go anymore. You just click navigate and the game takes you there. Again, it is a small thing, but it removes a layer of pointless friction from the game. Even the Serena teapot got some attention. There is a shopping cart now, so you can buy multiple furnishings at once. Is anyone excited for this feature? No? Anyone? Anyone out there? And on that note, one of the most requested features for years was a double artifact drop event. They finally delivered with the overflowing favor event.
Hasn't this been like extremely old? They've had this before. They've had this before, right? Am I wrong? I feel like I've done this multiple times and gotten multiple artifacts dropped. This isn't brand new.
For a limited time, you get double rewards from artifact domains. It is a huge help for the artifact grind, and it's a feature that should absolutely become a regular reoccurring event. A solid win. But the biggest positive change, in my opinion, addresses one of the most frustrating parts of the game. Pulling a new character you're excited for, only to realize you can't farm their materials for another 2 days because you got them on the wrong day of the week. But now, for the first week a new character or weapon is on the banner, the material domains are open every single day. You pull them and you can start immediately.
That is actually huge, and I hope he also chooses to mention that they used to have a problem where like region locked character mats and stuff, bosses, you can kind of fast forward and teleport to them and do that too. That should be mentioned in here at least, because that is something that they did do. And like, for instance, I played WoW when Augusta came out and I was behind by a lot, and I just I couldn't get to the area with the flowers. Like, they had the ability for me to teleport to the boss, but I couldn't get to the area to collect enough flowers to like level my character up enough. It was weird. I had to like go through like a bunch of story that had nothing to do with Augusta to use Augusta. I actually got quite irritated with that.
Building them. This is a genuinely good change. It removes that feeling of your excitement being put on hold by an arbitrary timer. It is a solid,
I hear that Golden Sun
win
music
for the player experience, but it also highlights a bigger problem with their overall design philosophy. And we will get into that in a second because that's the good news out of the way, right? And now let's talk about the features that were technically added, but in the most frustrating, tone-deaf way possible. For years, we asked for a permanent endgame, and now we have several. The problem is, they feel less like engaging challenges and more like chores. Each one comes with a fundamental flaw. Imaginarium Theater is a good example. It started out as an interesting roster check, okay? A way to reward you for building a wide variety of characters. But it slowly evolved into something that, as one player put it, is just restriction on top of restriction on top of restriction. The latest versions are so demanding with their elemental and character requirements that it's not really a test of skill anymore. It is a test of how deep your roster is, and if you have
I will say this about stuff like that. Yeah, the end game in Genshin, which is typically a lot of games fall into this trap where it just becomes like you're gonna hear the term HP bloat. It's just a bunch of HP bloat, and then they stick on for Fuller 12 specifically for like Spiral Abyss, but it's a bunch of HP bloat, and then like, hey, but if you bring XYZ, you do 200% more damage. You know, which makes it a lot easier. It's just a bunch of restrictive nonsense that I don't really like. I could see like more engaging mechanics on bosses and stuff would be an interesting way to take actual combat, but if you boil it down, I think we did it live not too long ago. We just loaded into like Spiral Abyss, Stygian Onslaught, and just like walked around and we're like, hey, what are the attacks I'm trying to avoid from this boss? What's going on? And honestly, a lot of it is like, nothing really happens if you're not attacking the boss and stuff. If you just take a minute to go into like a Genshin Impact boss fight, even if you're like the biggest Genshin guy ever or girl, whatever the shit, like it's your favorite game. If you literally objectively just go in and walk around a boss and see like what are the attacks they're using, you will cry. You will be bored to tears to see like most of the time it's just you spamming buttons on your character to do as much damage as humanly possible. Maybe you have a shield or maybe you don't. And there's very little attacks that come out from the boss at all. It's like, it kind of just like floats around and walks around and like something will happen every once in a while. That's it though. It's just a pile of health as a training dummy and like the stuff happens every once in a while. It's weird.
Of the specific niche characters they want you to use for that cycle. On top of that, they added the Lunar Arcana system to it. This is a new collectible card system where you get one random card per cycle, right? There are 22 cards in total. So if you manage to get a new one every single time, it will take you nearly 2 years to complete the collection for a single achievement. It is just another layer of slow, tedious grind on top of an already frustrating mode. And then there is the Stygian Onslaught. This mode is just transparent. They give bosses absurd amounts of health.
Yeah, look. No, go back. Look at the health on this.
This is absurd.
This is 5.7, so we're heading into 6.1 now, right? Like hold Hydro Topo, right? Can't use Hydro anyway because it's like immune to it, right? Look at all the things that these two guys are immune to. What is that? 17 million health. 17 million, 11 million. and then 14, and this guy's actually just straight weak to something, isn't immune to two different things. And this is a couple of patches ago. This is 5.7. You know? And what does the Hydro Tulpa do? Float around in the circle, summon some dudes, like a water attack will come out once every great while. You know? It's not like you're like dodging around doing all this crazy stuff. 17 million HP is the boss. That's the boss there. It's an immune to water boss that's got 17 million health. I keep counting that because that number's so high. All right.
Amounts of health starts you out with 0 energy, and then design mechanics that are perfectly solved by the newest 5-star character on the banner. It is less of a skill check and more of a wallet check, as one comment I saw perfectly summarized it. How to make bosses even harder. Other games, new move pattern, more
moves. We were just talking about move sets.
Set. Phase 2, Genshin, more H.
But it's not true though that other games don't also do this. Other games do this same exact garbage, which I'm not saying that you can't, you know, if you're making a video on Genshin, talk about it. But like, yeah, it's true. It's just like a free to play mechanic that companies abuse. Like they don't know what to do, so they take the lazy way out. Higher health, limitations, go. Okay, great. Thanks, man. And especially when he was talking about like, oh, the new character magically works super high. Even Epic 7, which is a totally different game. One of the game modes is kind of like that, right? Where it's like there's like a weekly 2-week thing that you need to beat one time, get a high score. I can't remember the name off the top of my head right now. Where you fight one boss, but like the new character magically works perfectly, right? With defeating the boss. Like right now is like Freerin and Fern. Amazing. Whoa.
Even more HP, more HP. But the real insult is the reward. You fight through all of that. You clear the hardest content in the game. For a weapon skin that expires in about 40 days, your achievement has a shelf life. It is hard to see that as anything other than disrespectful to the player's time and effort, to be honest.
Yes and no, because like, they want to add something. They've always been asked to add something that's hard. Or not hard, but they've always been asked to add like end game stuff. And the problem with companies that get asked to add end game stuff, a lot of the times it's like stuff that's rewarding for the players to do where they can utilize their characters in a cool way to get rewards, right? Doesn't necessarily have to be hard. A lot of people, when they hear end game, think that people are asking for like some 17 million HP inflated boss fight, when they're just asking for like some interesting things that are repeatable. Some games like to do some like roguelike modes where you just can run the roguelike as much as you want for fun, and then, you know, there's like a battle pass chart, not like one that you have to pay for, but like rewards that you earn for accumulating X amount of points and stuff like that. As far as this goes, though, because they implemented it and it is so tough, having the top tier reward be some stupid ass cosmetic is basically the only thing that they can do, right? Because if it is just like a free to play thing and it's something that is on a rotation and there's going to be rewards associated with it, they don't want to be like, hey, if you beat this, you get 100 pulls, you know, or something like that. Should the skin be permanent? I don't know. You tell me. Maybe it should be, maybe it shouldn't be. I know why it's not permanent from a developer standpoint, because it is a mobile title. They want people who can beat it to continue to engage with the content. Because if it wasn't a limited skin, the people who could beat it, they'd beat it a handful of times for the things that they want the skin for, and then never play it again. And so the developer wants you to keep interacting with that content because they don't want that content to die out. They want you to continue to interact with it. So it's kind of like its own problem, right? They created this thing that's too difficult for most people, so they can't put like a permanent reward associated with it as far as like polls and stuff like that. But also because it's so difficult, they want to give something unique to the players who can beat it, but they want those players to keep interacting with it, because the amount of players in the player base who actually can beat it on the highest difficulty is a very small percentage of the player base. So they've basically created this wild game mode with this reward that's only going to affect a very small percentage of your total player base, and it doesn't really directly earn them a ton of revenue. But what they can do is make them indirectly turn revenue, indirectly gain revenue by having it continually scale up in difficulty HP bloat for temporary rewards that refresh, so that the small X% of the population of your player base that can beat it are continually interested in being in that top X 1%, right? They'll keep spending, they'll keep getting the constellations so they can get their stupid little reward that actually doesn't do anything, because they're continuously engaged in that content. Thank you. Welcome to my TED Talk. That's what you can expect on this channel. Let's go.
In about 40 days, your achievement has a shelf life. It is hard to see that as anything other than disrespectful to the player's time and effort, to be honest with you. There is also an event that
I
gives
broke
you
that
free
down though, so I guess not.
And you might think that, oh, they're buffing older units, which should have been a huge, uncontroversial win.
Would have been awesome.
The idea is great. The execution is tilting. They conveniently left out the characters whose early constellations are genuinely great, like Kazuha or Yelan. We also got the level 100 thing, which is designed in a way that it mostly benefits hyper whales or day one players who have lost the 50-50 so many times that they already have a C6 GG. It was a chance to make a huge part of the roster more appealing.
Hey, we just made Noel 100, all right? That video coming out really soon. Also, the whole level 100 thing, honestly, it's kind of only there, like the buffing of your base stats and stuff you get doesn't matter that much. It's really about the reaction damage bonus that you get for some of the transformative reactions. It's really the main thing.
Everyone, and they just miss. But if you want to see the most blatant examples of Hoyoverse not listening, you just have to look at the two most requested features of all time: a skip button and artifact loadouts. This one is
let's go, baby! Skip button and artifact loadouts. Let's go. Take it home, Mark.
One-click skip for the quest, and everyone thought, finally. But it wasn't a button to skip dialogue. It was a button to fast forward the in-game clock, a shortcut for
those
a menu
traitors
we already had. The way it was advertised was so misleading. You have to assume they knew exactly how the people would react. I mean, look at all of those Hoyoverse content creators. They were like, oh, finally a skip button, bro, why? The artifact loadouts were even worse, in a way, because they didn't just mislead us, they gave us something we had already rejected. They didn't build a new system where you can just save your own handpicked sets of artifacts and gears. They just took their old, terrible, auto-generated loadout feature that nobody uses because it's so bad and gave it 2 save slots. And that was the entire update.
I didn't know that was how that worked. I haven't interacted with this system. Oh boy, that's terrible. Can we hear more about the skip button, please? If not, I'm gonna have to reiterate on it. I think I broke this shit. Oh.
It is not a solution, it's a joke. And this pattern of being just slightly out of touch extends to the other updates too. They are always one step behind. Take the Strongbox, for example. They finally added the Natlan artifact sets to it, right as the game moved on to the next region, not Cry. So
that's done on purpose though, but yeah.
The crafting system is perpetual.
They're always for the older sets. It's a catch-up mechanic thing. You know, yeah, he's going to say it's like useless. You can't use it to build your new characters. You're never supposed to be able to use it to build your new characters. It's always lagged behind. This is like just bonus artifacts for old sets. You can say what you want about it. I wasn't surprised that it was put in this way, so I'm not too mad about it. But the skip button though?
Outdated. It never has the new sets that people are actually trying to farm right now. It is the same story with the treasure compass. The new features that help you find chests and puzzles are so good, but they only work in Natlan. The other 6 major regions we have spent years exploring are still stuck with the old clunky system. It is a good feature, but it is applied in the narrowest way possible. And speaking of half measures, they finally addressed the request for permanent events with the Sunspray Summer Resort from version 5.8. The area and its main story quests are permanent additions, which is great. However, all of the event minigames and the limited time rewards are gone forever, so new players get the slow.
Well, they just copied that from Honkai Star Rail, so say what you want about that, but yeah, they're there to experience or whatever, but they do take out all the limited time rewards. That's the thing that Star Rail's
But they miss out on the engaging content and valuable rewards that came with it. It is another classic Genshin compromise that gives you half of what you ask for. Which brings us to the ugliest part of this audit, the massive list of problems from 7 months ago that haven't been touched at all. It seems that some things are just never going to change, unfortunately. After all these changes, you still have to physically run to Catherine to claim your daily
Bro, that
commission
is
rewards.
true.
It is a pointless
That
trip
one's
that you're
true.
forced to make every single
That
day.
one's
A simple
true.
claim button in a menu would fix this. But here we are. Past event weapons are still gone forever.
So I
If
was
you
going to mention this if he didn't talk about past event weapons when he brought up permanent events. I'm very surprised that there isn't some sort of like system, like a weekly quest system or something in the free battle pass or whatever, where they have like a key that you can get. And you can get like one a month or something, right? You guys can talk about it in the comment section below, but like one a month, and then you can pick an old past event, and then you can unlock it, download the data, whatever, right? That's how it'll help data on your phone is like you don't have to have all of the events on your phone, right? So it saves on data. But you can unlock it, go back and do it, and get like the Kazuha weapon, or get like the Festering Desire, or go and get an event weapon like that, and then you don't need to do it anymore. So then you can like get the data deleted for the event off of your phone or whatever. I don't know why there's nothing like that in the game.
Forever. If you weren't playing during that specific 3-week window 3 years ago, you will never get Festering Desire or Cinnabar Spindle. These aren't even 5-star weapons, but they're locked away they are.
The Kazuha
You still
weapon's
have to
that one,
teleport to a city to use a crafting bench. You run out of condensed resin in a domain. Get ready for 2 loading screens just to make more. Every other modern gacha game lets you craft from a menu, and for some reason, Genshin insists that running back and
Bro,
forth,
y'all think that he did this shit on purpose? Like, I think you can do this in Star Rail and stuff too, but he had to bring up Wuthering Waves crafting. He had to do it, dude. He had to poke the bear. I know someone's gonna say something.
Gameplay. It is in the lore. Like what? Who cares? And the material grind is still unnecessarily painful. You still have to wait 48 real-world hours for local specialties to respawn. Well, the 168 flowers or rocks that you need to ascend a single character. And with the newer regions, some of these materials are locked to a very specific small areas. It's fantastic.
That's what I talked about when even like WUWA suffers from the same thing. All these dumb mobile games, they do the same stupid thing. Like no one's moved beyond you need 200 flowers to level your character up. My brother, no, stop. And if we need to don't lock them in areas that I can't even gain access to yet right away. Especially if they're like time gated or quest gated or whatever. I can't imagine being a brand new player and being like, all right, day 1, I got Lauma or something, or whatever character that has all of their flowers in the brand new area. I can't go there yet. Ugh.
Amazing. This is a problem other games have solved. In Wuthering Waves, for example,
I'm gonna let him speak.
and weapon materials are often the same, and everything you need respawns daily. In Genshin, you have 3 different talent books per region. Weapon materials.
Okay, they do respawn, but the problem still persists. You skipped over that. Sometimes you just can't get to the flowers, even in
world materials, all on different timers. It is a level of complexity that just doesn't add fun. It adds friction. Oh yeah, but you can farm it for a week though. Yeah, and that's a good change. But why don't you go through all the way? Make it every day, every time. Why is it only gotta be a week? And while we are talking about materials, you still can't convert your useless overworld boss traps. Everyone who has played for a while has hundreds of things like hurricane seeds or lightning prisms just sitting there, right? Completely useless. And while you are desperate for materials from a new boss, a simple conversion.
I mean, do we? Who's farmed up boss mats that they don't need? That sounds more like a personal problem, bruv.
System would fix this, right? But it's not here. It's still not here. The rerun system is still a mess. Characters can disappear for over a year. The Chronicled Wish was...
This is true. Chronicled Wish was never going to fix it because it pulls your pull currency away from other banners onto characters that they personally don't think make money, so they made the Chronicled Wish. Let's get that straight. Chronicled Wish exists because there's, number one, a ton of characters in this game. Too many to rerun unless they were rerunning like 3 banners a week or something. Number 2, it's characters that they don't want to put on a rerun slot because they don't think players will pull for them. It doesn't drain currency out of players' accounts, thus doesn't make them that much money, even if it's directly or indirectly. Rerun banners are there to make them money, period. Either directly or indirectly. Directly is you're paying them money because you want more currency to pull for the character. Indirectly make them money in a way that you might have your currency saved up, you pull for them, and the currency on your account goes down. So maybe in a future, whether it's a month, 3 months, 6 months, your currency has been drained down from pulling on rerun characters. Bam, new Archon comes out. Swipe that card, baby! You know?
Supposed to be a solution. But with its shared pity system and limited pool, it is not the fix people wanted. It is a band-aid, not a cure. And the weekly bosses are still gated in the same restrictive way. You need a specific material from a specific boss, but you can only get 3 discounted resin claims per week. And you're pushed to fight 3 different bosses. You can't spend all 3 in the same boss, why would you? So you're still at the mercy of RNG.
They do need to up that 3 to like 5 discounted.
You actually need. And finally, there is the new problem, one that has become more obvious now that Hoyo versus other games are out. In Honkai Star Rail and Zenless Zone Zero, they buff and adjust old characters to keep
This is true, and this is where they needed to knock this out of the park with the level 95, level 100 garbage. It could have been a part of it, it could have been separate to it, but yes, there is no reason. I have a whole video about what kind of changes we do. I'll have it linked down in the description of this one. For old characters. Whether it's talent redesigns, reworks, integrating their constellations into their kit, giving them new constellations. There's a ton of stuff that they could have done.
Relevant. It is a normal, healthy thing for a live service game to do, am I right? The Genshin community has been begging for this, for some love for the original characters that have been completely left behind by power creep. And from Hoyoverse, we hear absolute nothing. Just silence. I don't even know if they're listening at this point. So where does that leave us? Has Genshin Impact actually improved in the last 7 months? On one hand, yes. Some of the small frustrating corners of the game has been smoothed out. The day-to-day experience is a little bit cleaner, and I'll give them credit for that. But when you look at the big fundamental issues, the elephant in the room, the things that actually matter for the long-term health of the game, the picture gets a lot worse. Respecting the player's time, delivering on promises without misleading advertising, creating permanent, rewarding content that doesn't feel like a setup for the next banner. On all of these fronts, they have either failed, baited us with a worse solution, or given us a monkey's paw. And when you step back, a very clear pattern emerges. Hoyoverse is perfectly willing to make an active grind more efficient. For example, they have made it so you can spend 40 resin directly at a domain for double rewards, and they buffed condensed resin to give triple the rewards for 60 resin. They make it faster to spend your resin, faster to get your materials for a brand new character. Anything that improves the experience while you are actively playing, they seem open to. But they are incredibly resistant to any change that gives players flexibility or value when they're not playing. A resin reserve system for a busy day? Nah. A way to get an old event weapon you missed?
That's true. Yeah, those two things. I can't believe there's not like a resin overflow system. Like Star Rail and stuff has that. That's kind of like, it's almost industry standard at this point for a lot of these open world games. That's huge.
Permanent reward that you don't have to re-earn? Nah! And at the end of the day, the daily login is still king. And almost every major fix we've seen feels designed to funnel you right back into that daily loop, or into pulling for the next shiny new character. So the game is better in some very small ways. But the core problems, the philosophy behind its design,
we were really showing these Halloween skins off, huh? We were really showing them, huh?
I want to know what you all think. Do these changes actually make a difference for you? Is it enough? And what is the one thing you are still waiting for them to fix?
The one thing that needs to get implemented is a skip button. That is by far, hands down. I don't care if you fight me in the comment section about that. A skip button needed to be added 6-7 years ago at this point, dude, before the game even came out, right? In early alpha, skip button should exist. It doesn't make any sense that it doesn't exist. It disrespects your player's time. Everyone has different sort of schedules and how they want to interact with a game on a given day. Some players want to watch the story when they want to watch it, not be surprised by some random NPC dragging them into an unskippable cutscene in the overworld. There's a bunch of different things, but it is by far, as someone who's been interacting with the community at least a couple years ago up until now, from launch, took a break, sickness, all that other stuff, the number one most complained about thing, and still to this day, the number one thing everyone says keeps them from playing the game. Genshin's still massive, but I can only imagine how much bigger it would be. It's already an industry titan. It would be almost unstoppable if it could have retained most of the players that started when the game was released during the pandemic lockdown. A lot of players quit. after that because they didn't have the time to just not be able to interact with unskippable cutscenes, and it felt like they were being disrespected. So with that being said out there, you want to see more stuff like this, other content on Gacha, I have a lot of stuff coming out this week. Instead, hit that sub button, comment, whatever. God bless out there, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.